Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Casino and Sportsbook app. Eliot Shorr-Parks, James Seltzer with you. We're back, buddy. Like, what a win today. Like, a no doubt about it, convincing, well-played win on the road against, at least if nothing else, a team with a great quarterback. Like, let's freaking go. What up, E? Go Birds.
You know what I would call that? You know what I think you call that?
Style points?
An acceptable win.
There.
There it is. An acceptable win. An acceptable win.
Yeah, you had that one holstered, didn't you? You were ready for that.
Ready. I know. I mean, look, let's just call it what it is.
Yes, definitely the pod title right there.
Let's call it what it is. They're back. I mean, that is the most 2022 win they've had in a really, really long time. Frankly, since 2022. To come into Cincinnati and do that to the Bengals. And look, the Bengals, I know their record isn't great. Let's not diminish what just happened. They went into Cincinnati against a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. They forced 2 turnovers. They allowed 17 points. They doubled up their score. They could have scored more at the end if they really wanted to. That was the most dominating full team performance that the Eagles have had in a really long time. And look, I felt this way after the Browns game. I felt this way after the Giants game. And I feel it even more now. From the bye week to the Browns game to the Giants game to today, they have gotten better every single week. And how long has it been since that's happened with this team? Didn't happen at all in 2023. They never fixed the problems. We heard every week about how they were making little mistakes and they had to fix them and they knew they were shooting themselves in the foot. The mistakes are less and less and less every week. And today was the culmination of what is a team that has gotten out of its rut. Doesn't mean they're going to go undefeated. Doesn't mean they won't win another game. But the Eagles that everybody fell in love with in 2022, the team with the quarterback that looks like he's one of the best in the league, the team with the skill players, the team with the defense that makes plays, that team, the teams that's fun to watch, that team is back. The team everybody fell in love with in 2022, the personalities, the celebration, the tush pushes, they're back. That's what today was. Today was the performance everyone's been waiting to see, the performance everyone has been dying to see, and frankly, the performance this team needed. Like, forget how we feel. I can't wait to get down to that locker room to see how they feel. You know they're going to be celebrating. You know Nick's going to be celebrating. Like, that was exactly what they needed.
No, I'm with you. I knew you'd be ready to go on the roller coaster here and bring the swing.
Always.
And I love it. No, but honestly, like, you're dead on. Like, at least, you know, I don't know if it's 2022 yet. Obviously, that's
what it looked like. That's
dominant.
What it looked like.
But today, look, outside of, you know, a bit of a slow start and, you know, a couple really long drives allowed, they were awesome today. I mean, they were the better team on the road, second straight road game, and they just went in there and they whooped their asses, man. I mean, they've had back-to-back road games and they've won them by a combined 45 points. I mean,
yeah,
like, that's
and
freaking awesome.
It could have been more. They could have beat the Giants by more.
Totally. And the stars showed up. I mean, Saquon salting it away when you needed it. AJ just unbelievably reliable. Devontae, that throw and catch, and Hurts was great today. Yeah, really. You know, Hurts had like one throw that was the dangerous one, and it felt out of place because it was the first time in 3 weeks he'd even put the ball in any danger. And then to your point, defensively, especially after that first early drive, the team really tightened up, made big plays. Cooper to Gene, that huge tackle, the interception, turned it over twice after, you know, we talked all week, only 2 turnovers. They doubled their season turnover today. They got pressure. The linebackers flew around. Bond and Nakobe looked awesome. Like, Eliot, yes, dude. Like we said all week, we said this was a game that had the potential to really,
game.
Yes, for the fan base, especially. Like, who knows with those guys, and it felt like they're feeling it. But for us, it felt like we're either going to be in or we're going to be probably out after this week. And I think you have to be in on this team. I mean, that was awesome, and they're getting better.
Well, I think what you just said there is actually perfectly phrased. Like, you have to get in, but also, like, they earned this. You know, like, this isn't just fans being excited because it's the Eagles. This isn't, I mean, dude, how many times have we said that we wanted to come on a podcast and not have to explain why it was a good win?
Oh,
right?
my God, totally.
I mean, the Browns, right? We had to explain throughout the week, like, well, if you think about it, they did play better, and they did. The Giants game, right? There were, like, this is the most complete victory they've had in a really long time. And we've probably gone too far. I know you just brought him up, but without giving Jalen Hurts a ton of credit. This dude, fairly so,
awesome,
fairly so, has been under a lot of criticism. Those first 4 weeks of the season were not good from Jalen. Since then, Zip. 0 turnovers over the last 3 games. By the way, training camp stats might be back. Not saying all the way back, but
Hey.
they're doing a little bit of the Undertaker gif right now popping up. But like, what? Look, Joe Burrow was really good today. Like, let's just call it what it is. Joe Burrow was really good today. But Jalen walks out with a win. And not only does he walk out with the win, he walks out with the 17-point win. And when I was on the pregame show with Joe Douglas, with Hugh Douglas and Joe Giglio, we were talking about Jalen, what you need to see from him. And I'm at a point with Jalen, well, yes, we can break down his play. Loud Eagles chant, by the way, here in Cincinnati. Shout out fans of Philly. But look, Jalen, like, what's his best quality? The dude wins. The dude flat out wins. And that's what today was. He started a little bit slow for sure. The first pass to AJ on the third down, not a great throw. The pass to Kenny Gainwell, probably his riskiest throw he's had since the bye week. But he stepped up, man. He made a ton of big plays on third down. Some plays with his legs. He has a few really nice completions to Devontae Smith over the middle. He had a nice pass to AJ Brown over the middle. The pass to Devontae for the touchdown. Look, outstanding play by Devontae. And by the way, Devontae, very, very good at 50-50 balls down the field. For someone
Phenomenal.
For someone that was billed as undersized, he's awesome at going up and getting.
He has great timing and great body control and obviously great hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, without question. But that throw was really, really good. Like, Jalen had a clean pocket, stood there, put it where only Devontae could get it. Like, I thought that was an outstanding throw. And really, again, outside.
And right after they tied the game up, too. Like, that was a big spot at 17-17. It was like, all right, boys, like, let's go. And that was a big-time touchdown.
And look, we've criticized this team a lot for their beginning of games, right? And obviously the defense came out slow today with that like 10-minute.
And they didn't get much of a chance. I mean, it kind of is like they got a field goal. They got a field goal in their first drive. It just wasn't in the first quarter.
Right.
You know?
But here's what I was saying. They scored on their first possession of the game. And then I think they scored on their first 3 possessions of the second half. I know they scored on at least their first 2 possessions of the second half. So they came out at the beginning of the game and they came out of halftime ready to go on offense. And everyone deserves credit for that. Jalen, the coaches, the skill players were awesome today. Saquon wasn't even really that awesome until the fourth quarter.
No, until the end, yeah.
Huge run. But that too, I mean, I remember when they signed Saquon, me and you talked about like the benefits, the risk, all that stuff. But one of the pros of signing Saquon was think of how many games last year, because this game ends up being a 14-point win, but that game was close in the fourth quarter.
Totally.
I think with like 10 minutes to go. Last year, they lost a close game to the Jets. They lost a close game to the Cardinals. They lost a close game to the Seahawks. Why? Because the offense couldn't hold and control the clock. What did the offense do today? They held and controlled the clock. And how did they do it? Saquon Barkley. Saquon was awesome at the end of that game. That run down the sideline where he ran through the guy and basically got to the one.
Dude, he's like LeGarrette Blount, but like an insanely better athlete. Like it's
LaShawn
wild.
McCoy's body.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's like Shady and Blunt put together.
Yeah. And by the way, small thing. I'm not sure if this was on TV, but did you see Jalen let Saquon spike the ball after the tush push?
I didn't, but I love that.
Saquon got it all the way down to the 1. Jalen tush pushed it in.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, look.
And Jalen 3 touchdowns today, tush push or not, the threw for like 230 something, like, didn't make mistakes except that one. I mean, to your point, and there was a lot of criticism, not from this pod, but in general after the win last week for Jalen, owed him. But like, I just find it hard to, maybe he missed some throws. I'm sure he did here and there, missed an open guy, but I just feel like I don't know how you could come out of this game being on Jalen. He was awesome for them today.
Well, and here's the Jalen thing too. And like, look, we talked about it during the midweek pods. Like, I think the people that were critical of Jalen during the week made a lot of fair points. Like, there were plays against the Jack, but I think what you're definitely seeing, first of all, this was his best game for a really long time. I mean,
and this was their best win of the season. This was their best win. Like you said, I mean, this was their best win since, really like 2022, but like Buffalo in terms of fun, whatever you want to say, but definitely it was huge.
Think about this. So they're now 5-2, right? The loss to the Falcons. Look, they lost that game. They made mistakes, but if Saquon catches that ball, they're 6-1, right? And the loss to Tampa, they didn't have basically anybody. They didn't have Devontae, they didn't have AJ, they didn't have Lane. Now they didn't play well enough, and that was disappointing. But on this season right now, they're 5-2 going into the Jacksonville game next week. They've beaten the Packers, they've beaten the Saints, and they've beaten now the Bengals. They've beaten the 3 best teams on their schedule, arguably. I guess we could debate Falcons versus Saints, but at the time, that Saints win was a really impressive win. So I was thinking about this during the fourth quarter. I remember so many pods me and you did during the offseason about, all right, how many wins do we think they'll have? And both of us said there's a low floor to this team, that there is major like disaster potential. And I said it after last week's pod, but I have to say it again because I firmly believe it. This team has shown so much resilience this season. To go out and win in Brazil, impressive. To go and win in New Orleans, after losing to the Falcons the way they did, impressive. To come out of the bye week and beat the Browns, not an impressive win, but at least to come out and win. Good win. Then the next week, with everybody in the city wanting Sirianni fired, everybody ripping the team to shreds, go out and put what at that point was their best performance out against the Giants. And then to come into Cincinnati against a good Bengals team, the best team they faced all year, I think, and to turn in that performance, this is the type of
The Packers
resiliency.
are them. Them are the Packers. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the type of resiliency you didn't see last year, right?
I
Last year
agree.
when this team got punched at the end of the season, they did not fight back. This team has been punched so many times. Like Nick's been punched, Jalen's been punched, the defense has been punched, everybody, right? Howie, everybody, and they have bounced back to come up with these wins. To sit in 5-2 after these 7 games is incredibly impressive, and to do it in the manner they did. Let me finish my point on Jalen really quick. Well, look, I think the criticism of Jalen for some of the things he's done is absolutely fair. Some of the reads, all those things. Jalen has gotten better week after week after week since the bye week. And today was his best game of the season. So next week, we'll see what he does. He still has to, again, be smart with the football, all those things. But if Jalen plays this style of game the rest of the season, they're going to be like a 12-win team. They will. Like this team with this much talent, you saw it today. Throw it up to Devontae, touchdown. Saquon makes big plays end of the game. AJ was awesome. Like, Jalen does not need to be the guy he was the first 4 weeks of the season. And I think he's realized that. And now this team is taking off because of it. And Jalen, much like when they were struggling, I said he deserved the blame and not Nick. Jalen deserves a lot of the credit for how they are playing. He's the quarterback. He touches it on every play. He's the most important player. And what he did today, he deserves credit for it.
100%. Yeah, I can't play him better. And, again, also you talked a lot about the resiliency of this team, particularly Jalen and Nick, they, especially after the first couple games of the season, the turnovers, the ugly plays that Jalen had, we were on him. And obviously we talked a lot last week about how that game was big for Nick and how they've kind of rallied around him. I think we also need to give, and how we gave Nick a lot of credit, for hanging in, and also for the team having his back. I think Jalen deserves a lot of credit too for how he's progressed this season, how he's kind of stayed even keeled, gotten them to where they need to be, and again, they've played their best football the last 2 weeks of the season. They're 5-2 and on the upswing. Like the arrow is pointing up for this football team. They are still leaving plays on the field and winning by big margins. And again, over a good quarterback, this team on the road, second straight road game. I'm super impressed today, Elliot.
So I have a big picture thought and a defensive thought. Tell me which one you want first.
Let's go defense, and then we'll end with big picture.
Okay. So the defense gave up 17 points today. It could have been less. Like, I thought that was a really good performance from the defense. If you think of how close they came to a lot of plays. Now, you have to make the plays. Like, they got to Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow got away from a few. He made a few really nice throws. But I thought they got good pressure on Joe Burrow today. I thought that there was a few plays where they had him, and he got out of it. Not many quarterbacks get out of that. And the Cooper DeJean dropped interception. Cooper has to be better. You have to make that play. But if he catches that interception, who knows how the game plays out? We're legitimately talking about them holding the Bengals to like 10 points. I mean, 17 points. Look, me and you debated about Jonathan Gannon a lot during the time that he was here. But when's the last time we saw an Eagles defense turn in this type of performance against that type of quarterback?
Yeah,
right?
I think you look at it and you say the long drives, obviously, and like the third and longs are something to look at. There were a lot of third and long conversions. But on the whole, I mean, they got pressure. The linebacker, I mean, I thought Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond flew
awesome.
like jumped off the screen today, and same thing with Cooper and Slay and Quinion again. I thought Cooper particularly. I thought Cooper obviously had that huge fourth down tackle, had that other big tackle. Like,
dude, that play by Cooper was insane.
He's a freaking baller, man. He's a baller.
Think about that play by Cooper. He's
massive.
Making his third NFL start against Jamar Chase.
Open fields.
Open field tackle. Like, that's a big time play, man. And I've
fourth
said this
down.
before.
And it changed the game. They scored and it was over, you know?
Yeah, I've said this before, but as impressed as I've been by both those guys on the field, Quinyon and Cooper, they are just as impressive off the field. Like, I think Howie really hit home runs with those guys, and you can see it in big moments. Like, Cooper making that play is massive. Now, look, he dropped the interception, but to be in place to make that is an encouraging sign for what he can become. I mean, if you think about it, and look, they have to make the catches. Quinyon and Cooper could have like 5 interceptions between the two of them in 7 games,
totally.
right? Like, and they don't, but like to come up, like, they have to start making those plays. I agree with you. The linebackers were awesome. The play by Isaiah Rodgers to bat that ball.
Yeah. And look, the awareness of CJ, just be ready for it and that to catch it. I mean, it was great all around.
But also, let's give the defensive line some credit. Nolan
Totally.
Smith today. Nolan Smith today. Got to Joe Burrow.
How about it?
Josh Sweat got to Joe Burrow.
And they just felt pressure. It felt like that. You watched the game, so you could. Did it feel like they got to the quarterback or not? It did.
Yeah, it just did. I agree. Look, they won the game today on both sides of the line of scrimmage. On the line, I mean, like on offensive line and defensive line. I think both those units outplayed the opposing unit. So yeah, I mean, look, it's a completely different team than what we saw without AJ. But what's funny is it kind of makes sense without AJ. Like
best player.
When they've had AJ this year, they're
4-0.
4-0.
4-0. Yeah, 4-0. You're right.
And they're averaging probably close to 30 points.
And they've got wins over the Packers and the Bengals.
Yeah. So, again, and this will maybe be like my last big picture thought is this team really, really did go through a rough stretch, right? They really did. Like Nick being ripped to shreds, nobody believing the team. Is Jalen the guy? To come out of it and to do this, like, man, that really, really is impressive to me. I know I hammer it home a lot and I'm saying it a lot right now, but it's really my main takeaway. Like, I've covered a lot of Eagles teams that have folded under pressure. I've covered a lot, or just watched in my life, a lot of sports teams when things go south. It is so, so hard. Like, when the ball starts rolling down the hill in a negative way, it is so hard to push it back up the hill. Me and you even said within the last 2 weeks, maybe Nick just can't get it turned around. Like, maybe as long as Nick can't. And it doesn't feel that way anymore. Like, on a simplistic level, I think about what Emily said to you after the game last week. Like, they're having fun again. And that's just so, so important, as is the fan base, right? As is the fan base. Like, this team, I saw so many people tweet it today. Like, this is the Eagles team I love. This is, like, it's been so ugly with this team. And to go into Cincinnati and get that win, I know maybe it's not a 2022 win, but man, it sure feels like a 2022 win. Like, I covered those games. I was there. This is what it felt like when they're having fun. People are believing. They're celebrating. Like, it's been so, so long since it felt like that. And to feel like that today, I think is so encouraging for moving forward.
Such a great point, dude. And I couldn't agree more. Like, it felt like the Eagles felt like a good team today. For the first, like, last week, it felt like, oh, we're beating a team we should beat and we can enjoy it and sit back and it's not stressful, but I don't know if they're good or not. This week, it felt like, oh, the Eagles are good. I'm watching a good football team go out and handle business, and that's freaking awesome. Now, the key is build on it. They got to keep this rolling. Obviously, the Jags coming to town. Jags gave the Packers a run. It looks like setting up at the end. It looks like the Packers probably going to win by 3. They did. The Packers won by 3, but the Jags came back and made it a real game. So should be an interesting one next week. But ultimately, I'm with you. Again, I think this is a day. Like last week, we were like, it's great to have fun again. It's great to not stress again. This is a week to, and again, it's still early. It's only 5-2. We're not even through halfway of the season yet. But, a little bit. It's a day to puff your chest out as an Eagles fan for the first time in a while.
100%. 100%. 100%.
Awesome. Acceptable win. Very acceptable win.
A very acceptable win.
Yeah. All right. Go to the locker room, do your thing. We will be back, obviously, later this week with reaction, normal slate, all the good stuff, and get you set up for a little Doug action. Finally back at home, too. That'll be fun. All right. Yes. All right, buddy. This was fun. How about it? We got a team. We got a season. This is beautiful.
It's fun to have fun again.
It's well said, buddy. It's my motto. All right, we'll be back later in the week. Until then, go Birds! He's Adam James.